Job done, losing streak broken. KKR have won with 5 balls to spare, with Andre Russell to spare. Rinku Singh and Nitish Rana have taken them over the line against the Rajasthan Royals, who've now lost 2 on the trot. We will look back at what was perhaps the near perfect game. Their bowlers did the job, their batters didn't necessarily leave it too late or leave it for Andre Russell for too much to do. It turned out to be just the night for the Knight Riders. As we look back at that game on Maruti Suzuki presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by ICO 95G with Imran Tahir. Before that, Daniel Vettori. Be very pleased with that win for the Knight Riders. I don't think we were expecting a Andre Russell less win today, and they've done that.
He was devastated for fantasy and upstocks, everything, because normally he dominates it all. But I think you stole my words. It was a near perfect performance, and probably didn't reflect on that till actually the game is almost finished to see how well KKR bowled, and a really good chase. I mean, Shreyas Iyer and Nitish Rana almost in their, it feels like they're in their ideal spots. They bat 3 or 4. They picked up the pieces after the openers struggled a little bit, but it was just a really good performance. They'll be very happy with themselves, KKR.
Yeah, Imran, let me get your first thoughts too. It looks like Rajasthan have been outplayed in both departments, fair to say?
Yeah, look, first they bowled well, KKR, and then they batted really sensibly, and they got the result what they wanted. And I'm sure they'll be very happy and positive after today's game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the result you wanted. But there are many ways of achieving this result. We saw the Delhi Capitals almost stumble and fumble their way over a line when they needed the result. This would give KKR a lot of confidence. Let's look back at this chase and perhaps go straight to over number 11. They were 59 for 2. And you think KKR, or rather Rajasthan, in the game, strong bowling attack. Then R. Ashwin bowls to Nitish Rana. How important was that over?
I mean, it probably won the game for KKR in a lot of ways. And we've talked about it before that Nitish Rana defies the logic of that left-hand batsman struggles against off-spin. I mean, I think he excels in that situation. And I think you see why he excels is because of the range of shots that he has. He went to the reverse sweep and then he swept slogged Ashwin's arm ball. So he looks like he's in real control of his game. And I think particularly at that time where we were talking about Ashwin and Chahal having an influence on the game, because it was spinning. Both of them spun the ball a long way. But you can see what happens when a batsman puts pressure back on a spinner. He inevitably stops spinning it because he's lost a little bit of that control or courage. And I thought that over in particular was the catalyst for KKR getting through in the end.
I mean, there's so many quality left-hand batters, Dan, and we see that the matchup still bodes well against off-spin for the bowling side. Rana isn't your top international guy who's got you orange caps after orange caps. What makes him this effective against what's traditionally a good matchup in the IPL?
I think it's just the confidence in his own game and the array of shots he does have, because we've seen him charge, we've seen him hit off spinners over cover. So as a bowler, you're aware that he does have some skills at his disposal, and probably you're a little bit on the back foot against him as well. But it's mainly the array of shots and the confidence to actually play them. And it's surprising that more left-handers don't have the same confidence, or vice versa. They seem to wait for the matchup of the ball spinning back into them. But I think of a batsman like Sangakkara, who had no weaknesses against spin at all, and that was purely down to a confidence in his game plan and his ability to play a number of shots. And in a lot of ways, I see that same sort of philosophy in Nitish Rana.
Wow, all right. That's pretty good praise and strong comparison. Imi, I wonder if I could take your thoughts also through that over. You saw a lot of anticipation from Rana against Ashwin. Ashwin, one of the best white ball spinners that we're seeing in the league, off spinners certainly. He took down Lalit Yadav last game. That's a part-time spinner. But just take me through the anticipation. What sort of pressure is Rana putting on a player of Ashwin's pedigree in that over?
Look, it's always difficult when the batsman slop sweeping you and reverse sweeping you and sweeping you well. So it's difficult to control that, and he reverse sweep really well. He plays spins really well. But I think on the other side, he played very sensibly against Chahal. He didn't give no opportunity. He play him and respect him because he's been Rajasthan's best bowler. And I think on the other side, he took a chance in that over, and I think he come over it. And I think that was the game-changing over for KKR.
Did Ashwin bowl badly in that over at all? Or is he just outsmarted? How much of that is anticipation from Rana?
Well, you think about the balls that he bowled his classical off spinner and he got swept. There was a bit of pace on it. He got reverse swept over the short third man. And I don't think Ashwin was on the back foot there. Then he went to his arm ball, and I think that was the better shot in terms of sweep slogging an arm ball. It swung a little bit, and then he tried to spin it again, and Nitish Rana was just ahead of him. And I always feel like the great spinners are in control. They dictate the over, and that was reversed on Ashwin then, because obviously he is a great spinner, and normally his strengths are being in control, predicting what a batsman's going to do and be one step ahead, but it looked like Rana was able to do that to him.
You think today was also a good use of Nitish Rana, who at times just batted 5, 6, with not much to spare? This was ideal, the sanity with which the batting order was decided?
I think across the board it just looked like a really polished, planned and thorough performance. And that's not to suggest that it hasn't been in the past. It's more that Rana at 4, probably on the back of his last couple of innings, and I think he's probably earned that right to go up to 4 and not to mix and match it with Sunil Narayan. So, and Rinku Singh as well. I think we're forgetting about him. He's probably the forgotten man of KKR, and maybe the forgotten man of IPL, because we always think of him as a fielder because he does such an amazing job. But he came in and took a lot of pressure off Rana once he got going, and his ability to play pace really helped at the end, and they did it comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, the big retentions, in our pre-show, Venkatesh Iyer, Varun Chakravarti, and eventually we've reached the point where if players are not performing, they perhaps need to be dropped. In-come players like Rinku Singh, and I'm thinking how good would this be for the franchise? Player like Rinku Singh taking them over the line and striking at 180 as a result.
Well, he took a chance and he proved that, if he's in he's there for the reason. And I mean, the way he played, he looks like he dominated against Rajasthan bowling. And it's a very good sign for KKR going forward.
I mean, this is a player who's been around for so long. Has he just come up with these shots? Or does that happen sometimes where you might have had a player, uncapped player in the franchise for so long, suddenly one season, he's playing high quality bowling a lot better than he was previous years?
I'd love to find out how often he's batted 5.
He's not played often, we know that.
No, but whenever he plays, he bats 7,
Yeah.
and then he gets shuffled down, potentially, obviously behind Russell and sometimes Narayan, and then sometimes,
Cummins,
sometimes. So he this is an opportunity, and it's the sort of game that probably suits him as well, chasing that 150. So it probably just shows to the franchise and everyone that he can be a player that doesn't have to be shifted down all the time, albeit that they would have known that, but it's hard when you've got Russell waiting in the wings all the time that you want to obviously favour him in terms of the batting order.
Yeah, well done. What a good day for Rinku Singh. He handed Anukul Roy his cap, so he was a presenter of a cap today, and now he's taken a couple of good catches like he always does. And then he's just finished the job off with Andre Russell having to remove his pads. That's all that he needed to do today. A couple of good stops on the boundary. He didn't bowl an over, so this has been a great day for KKR. Just before we wrap up the game and talk about KKR and Rajasthan going forward, must get your thoughts on Sanju Samson's visible irritation with these wide calls, and whether at all you felt there was a series of unfair calls, or the umpire get it spot on. Hard when these batters are moving as much as they are.
The umpire got it right 50% of the time, and Sanju Samson got it right 50% of the time. So when it builds up like that, you can see there's some frustration, but the umpire made a couple of very good calls, and I thought he missed a couple as well. And that's the element of human nature that we tend to embrace, I think, in the game of cricket. We want to see that a little bit because it brings out the personality. And Sanju was probably just frustrated. I mean, we're talking a couple of inches here and there around the decisions, but I don't think he should be penalised in any way, Sanju, for venting that frustration. Likewise, I think the umpire did a pretty good job.
Yeah, you could see almost that one review towards the end. I initially thought he was mocking the umpire and asking for the wide to be reviewed, which of course the laws don't allow now. As it turns out, it was a proper review, but you could almost see it was perhaps in that flow of emotion that particular call was reviewed. You've mentioned on our Mute Me program a little while back that you'd like to see these calls reviewed. Do you stand by that after a day like this, that you should be able to review these calls?
I think you're right in the first sentiment that he was mocking the umpire. I don't think there was any thought of him actually being out. Absolutely. I mean, the players should be able to decide in these such crucial matters. And today was probably a little bit different, where it always looked like KK are going to win. But we've sat here so many times and seen decisions go against bowlers that were so close, and the umpires got it wrong. And so therefore the players should have some avenue towards rectifying that mistake, because that's why the DRS was brought in, to rectify mistakes. So I would like to see that happen, and I think players are very good judges of it as well, and I think they get it right more often than not.
Imran, it's tricky, this area, if we are to enter into it. Wides tend to be very subjective, right? Umpires sometimes give it according to what they see. It's very hard at times to overrule. It's not as black and white as a Nick or an LBW with ball tracker and whatnot. But do you believe that this is a space the game should enter into where players are allowed to challenge wide calls or maybe no ball calls for height?
Yeah, why not? Look, there is not much for the players in the game, especially for the bowlers. So, when a batsman hitting you all over, I think you don't have any other choice than bowling wide yorkers or bowling wide leg spinner. And if that obviously become wide, then you're in trouble as a bowler. So, yeah, I think so. But look, I think it was a close call. Samson was a little bit frustrated. Obviously, he wanted to win, and also the bowler bowled the white ball, and umpire thought at that time that that was a white ball. So it was a 50-50 thing, but I don't think that it shouldn't be a big issue. We have to look at that. Kolkata, they played well, and in that situation, I think it was pretty much ball was in their court, and then I think they were going to win it. But yeah, look, if in future if there is, yeah, as a bowler, I think there should be a review which a player can obviously go for it.
Okay, well, let's see if Sanju Samson faces some sort of sanction for his visible frustration for what happened today, not just with the review, but to go up multiple times to the umpire. We think, well, over and all, it cancelled each other out. Don't think we'd be saying that the wides cost Rajasthan this game, because KKR were by far the better team. The points table will show finally that Shreyas Iyer's side has made some progress. They've been on 6 points for a long time. Now they've got their fourth win, and they've now on to 8 points. So they go level with the Capitals. The Rajasthan Royals, they still sit, you could say, reasonably comfortably in spite of 2 losses on the trot now. They're at 12. They've got Hyderabad, they've got RCB breathing down their neck, and you'd think there'd be quite a fight to be made of the rest of the playoff spots. Lucknow and Gujarat Titans look very comfortable at 14 and 16 respectively. So I guess the question should be asked now, is this the kind of win for KKR that could turn into a streak, as against, say, Delhi, where we thought they got the job done, now they've lost one after that? Would you feel a lot more confident about KKR when you had this sort of performance?
I think around their bowling performance, I thought that was exceptional. I think they, from Mavi, Southey, their fast bowlers, Umashedev continued on his form. And there may be an opportunity to bring the likes of Varun Chakravarti back into this because it might be the right time. They might feel like he's improved slightly. So it's always easy to bring someone in after a win, I believe, because the pressure's probably not on that individual. But overall, incredibly satisfying performance for KKR, and probably one they've been searching for a few games now.
I mean, we look at their remaining fixtures, KKR, and you can draw up your own chart now on whether you think KKR are likely to get some points, but they've got a couple of tough ones. Lucknow looking like a team to beat. If they are to secure a playoff spot or a top 2 spot before that last game at the DY Patil, will they rest players? You should always put that in your calculations too. Otherwise, you've got a Mumbai team that have shown against Rajasthan they're not going to be pushovers, even if they may not be in contention, and Hyderabad have plenty to play for. So no more cricket at either the Wankhede or at the Brabant Stadium for KKRs. They will be moving to Navi Mumbai on either side of the expressway to play at the DY Patil and the MCA. Imi, for KKR today, would you credit today's win to the bowlers more? It looked like their selections also turned out to be good ones. Shivam Mavi had a good day. Anukul Roy had quite an impact. Would this win belong more to the bowlers, or the batters still had work to do?
I think it was a great team performance. I think first of all, start with the management who obviously made a big call and did some changes, and which turned out down to be really good for them. I think bowlers set the tone, and I think batters play very sensibly. Like I said, they didn't have to rush to anything. They stayed calm, and I think they got the result what they were looking for, and I think that should give them lots of confidence going forward for the next couple of games they have.
Rajasthan Royals on the other side, 2 losses. Would that concern you at all if you were Sanju Samson or Kumar Sangakkara and you look at their remaining fixtures? You've got Punjab Kings, who really are in a bit of a scrap themselves to try and make a playoff spot. So too are Delhi, Lucknow and Chennai to follow. Chennai also dangerous team, as Sunrisers Hyderabad found out last night, especially if their top order fires, which looks like it's going to have a new look with Devin Conway and Ruturaj Gaikwad together. So that's the remaining matches for the Rajasthan Royals. Would it be a fair question at all to ask if the wheels are coming off for the Royals, losing to Mumbai and Kolkata, two games that I know you don't do it, but I do, that they would have thought they would have picked up points in?
Every team's nervous apart from Gujarat this time of the season. Every team worries about everything. So losses tenfold in a lot of ways at this time, particularly when you've been playing so well. So to have 2 games in a row where you'll probably underperform with the bat, I think that would be fair on Rajasthan. I think their bowling performances are still pretty strong, and I do like their bowling lineup. I think they've got a really nice balance with Kuldeep Sen coming on to complement the other 4 that are a given. So not too many concerns, but as I said, everything just manifests itself in a different way at this time of the tournament, when you think you're going so good and then a couple of losses and then another team just behind you starts building momentum. It just plays funny tricks. So just get the win and then it solves everything.
Maybe 2 is something you could understand. 3 becomes a streak, perhaps, if they lose 1 more against Punjab. But Dan brings up a good point about batting, Imi. I wonder if that's a chat you'll have in the Rajasthan dressing room. They got, 152, I think it was today, 152 yesterday, and Butler didn't look his old self, and when he doesn't fire, invariably Rajasthan Royals batting is not able to cope. Is that becoming a bit of a problem now, the rest of the batting not standing up when Butler fails?
That can be a problem, but he's been the best player for them, destroying every bowling attack he faced. And yeah, he set the tone for Rajasthan. And they've been lucky, he's been coming out firing every game. But yeah, the problem come when he doesn't fire. So I think that's what they need to look into. And I think Samson played a good knock today. That should give him a confidence. He needs to obviously make runs consistently, and few others. Otherwise, I think they could be in a little bit trouble, because there is a lot to ask from Josh Butler every game.
Would they look at that as a poor batting effort? Would they give off their hat to Kolkata and say, no, they bowled really well, so we couldn't have gotten any more than we did? Would you look at that as a concerning batting effort when Butler doesn't fire?
Oh, I think they'll definitely be disappointed, because that's the easiest thing to turn to, is that they were below par. We thought around that 165, 170 probably would have been effective on that wicket, and they would have put a lot of pressure on KKR. So I don't think they'll change anything. I don't think they'll dig too deep, but they'll know they'll need a better performance in the next game from the batting unit.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much to Daniel Vettori. So too to Imran Tahir. Before I say goodbye to them and to you, let's look at the Maruti Suzuki Driving School poll of the day. We asked who will be the top run scorer. Number 3 went for Butler. Wouldn't blame you if you did. As it turns out, the 54 that Sanju Samson got is actually the highest score. So if you're in that bracket of the others, you would have done well. Lovely little innings from Nitish Rana and Rinku Singh. And it looks like Rinku Singh's actually the player of the match, which is wonderful to see. It caps off a great day for him. He's also our Cricinfo's MVP, if you like to look at those at the end of a game. So that's nice from Rinku Singh too. Good on the cake, good on the Knight Riders. They've kept this tournament interesting. We'll see now if this is the start of a series of wins that will challenge for a playoff spot, and we'll see where the Rajasthan Royals go to. Big thank you to Imran Tahir and Dan Vettori. We will get their thoughts tomorrow on Maruti Suzuki Presents ESPN Cricket for T20 Timeout, powered by IQ 95G for Gujarat against Punjab. So we look forward to your company then. Bye-bye.